Rather than actions that will help resolve the impasse between the federal government and striking members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, what we see is endless brinkmanship and blame game. Now, the reconciliation meeting called by the Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, to resolve the crisis ended in another deadlock, with the federal government insisting that the demands by ASUU are already being met. Now, the development prompted ASUU to take a stand by vowing not to call off the one-month strike. Paul, let me start with you now. Now, in that meeting, we know that ASUU says it's no longer interested in signing any memorandum of understanding, but rather wants the government to implement its earlier agreement. What do you make of this continued face-off between the federal government and ASUU regarding this matter?
Once beaten, twice shy, they say. And I don't know, I can't count how many times ASUU has been beaten. You know, it's always been, okay, ASUU calls off strike in good faith. You know, I remember like 2 years ago, something like this also happened. There was a deadlock. ASUU said, no, we're not going to call off the strike. Somehow, they were persuaded to call it off. And then the same story, you know, we are hearing. And ASUU's president said something, said, we are tired of failed promises. Mm-hmm. We are tired of, we want commitment, and the commitment is in action. Though Dr. Chris Ngige said, okay, that most of the demands have been met, a committee is being set up. For me, it's still talk. Start meeting those needs tangibly, and then you can now say, fine, yes, you are serious. You know, this has always been the issue. SANU also threatened to go on strike recently, and it's still the same issue. Agreements not fulfilled, promises not fulfilled. ASUU called off strike, was it last year? After 2 months. It's still the same agreement not met. Now let's leave that one, go to the health sector. Resident doctors, you know, went on strike, and then they suspended it in good faith. Who knows what is going to happen next? They might also come up and say, look, the promises are not met. So we need to get serious. The promises that are kept in the breach, you know, are no promises. A gift that is not given is not a gift. If you have a gift for me, you keep it under your bed, and you say, I have a gift for you. As far as I'm concerned, you have not given me any gift. And you can't just ask me to keep hoping that things will change. Hope is not a method. Hope is never a method. What you need to do as a government is to meet the demands.
Right.
That's it.
And in meeting the demands now, Mr. Tunde, we understand Dr. Chris Ngige said the government has spent about 92 billion naira so far to implement the agreement. Do you think the government has been fair on its part?
Well, I think the ASUU people are more or less concerned about the issue of a stabilization fund. When the last agreement was signed, a particular amount of money was supposed to be released over a period of time in terms of infrastructure in the universities. But up to today, nobody can pay any fees. The only thing you will see in most of the federal universities, private sectors intervention or initiative in most of them are using their own infrastructure. Now the onus is that, yes, you may say that ASUU people are selfish, but what is the point? The same thing the same infrastructure you are using to teach 10 years ago or 15 years ago, you are still using till today. Especially those who are into sciences, engineering, and some other things. So I think the problem with us is that I am beginning to have a strong conviction that governments in Nigeria in the past 2 decades, we have no respect for all our institutions. We have a national penchant for deliberately frustrating those institutions so that government can continue to be relevant. And in a society where people don't actually recognize their right, they don't go home, we don't use election as a period to demand for issues. We don't vote in Nigeria based on issues. If you vote on Nigeria based on issues of health sector strike, issues of education is enough to hold down the country. But I now think that both students and other organized sectors must begin to devise some other ways. Like today, students, people, they block Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. One is not saying that it is a good thing. It will affect the economy. But I am telling you, they have to devise a way of drawing Nigerians to join and to sympathize with their action, because it will appear as if government, a government that sat down, constituted a committee, and the committee came out with a recommendation, and your representatives signed that agreement, and it is taking 13 years now to fulfill that agreement. And I think it is unfortunate to say that the government is not sincere enough. In Kaduna, in Abuja today, they block Suleja Abuja route because of the same thing. So students are beginning to take their destiny in their own hand. And it is unfortunate that those people who are making policy in Nigeria, we don't know that a nation that failed to educate its citizens, a nation that failed to provide health facilities, you now begin to ask yourself, what is the essence of governance when we cannot provide basic infrastructures? The only thing we do, whenever the FEC meets in Nigeria, the only thing you hear is that a so contract has been awarded. That is the only thing you hear of FEC. You will never hear any policy statement that affects students, that affects education sector, health sector, and some other things. The only thing you will hear is that we have been awarded contract. And to what extent have those contracts impact positively on the life of Nigerians? That is the question you ask. So on this issue of education, I think, like I also said, enough is enough. If there is no sign, it's not difficult to sign, to put pen to paper and sign anything. But the most important thing is to implementing that particular agreement. And it appears government has a natural disdain for not respecting their own agreement. And if you don't respect your agreement, I don't know where we are going to move. How can we solve the problem?
But the federal government, apologies, let me bring in this now. But the federal government has said that, it has done
let the federal government come out,
92 billion naira so far.
Let the government come out and tell Nigerians what he has done.
Okay.
If although that 92 billion has not been able to affect the students, then I don't think the government has done anything. Let the government, it is the government's word against ASUU. Yes, ASUU, they have a number. Let them come out point by point. Let the education minister reel out all those things. If those people are not conscious enough, they will not be on strike. I am not holding bill for ASUU. But what we are saying is that they are talking about the general decay in the education system of Nigeria, and which the government has to be sincere enough to do. Yesterday evening, initially the minister walked out. Yes, if the government is, like I said, they are serious of the fact that they have done something, let them come out and tell Nigerians what the federal government has done. So that we can begin to hold ASUU accountable, that ASUU, you have not fulfilled your own part of the bargain. Before you go on strike, at least they are lazy. Anyway, this strike they are on, the last one they did last December, they only suspended it. It was a suspension, not calling it off. They suspended that strike to give the government enough leeway to come to terms with the agreement they signed. But up to today, they believe the government is here to do it. Let the government come out and tell Nigerians what it has done.
Now, Paul, when you see all this happening, because it's still the same issues that you've been talking about, the academics are asking for improved welfare, revitalization of public universities, university autonomy, among other demands. And also there's this issue about a unified payroll system, which is also a critical factor in this industrial action. Do you think perhaps the two parties involved are not ready to, give this issue, let it be to rest? Because when you have students coming out and say they want to be a part of this protest so that our education is not truncated, one is left to ask, are we now left to do things on our own without the government having to, put its leg forward and say, okay, this is my jurisdiction, this is what I have to do, this is my duty to ensure our citizens, our youth are educated?
That is what it has to come to, because these are recurring issues. The agreement was signed in 2009.
30 years ago.
And this is 2022, and we keep having the same stories. And they say that when two elephants are locked in a combat, it is the grass that suffers. So look, that's why NANS had to come up to say that, look, what is happening? This is our future that is at stake. And it's like the future of Nigeria, because youths are the leaders of tomorrow. So when ASUU goes on strike and the universities are grounded, what it means is that you are suspending the future of Nigeria. That is, if actually youth are the future of tomorrow. The leaders of tomorrow, sorry.
Yes.
Okay. So I was even saying before we came on air that what I even expect is for the parents to also start protesting. The parents who send these children to school. Because those parents can come up and say, look, we don't have the money to send our children to private universities. So many of them are struggling. Many parents would rather go naked for their children to be educated. And then they also bear the brunt. Maybe when they start seeing women with gray hair and men with gray hair, come out to also protest, maybe they will take this thing very, very, very serious. But it's so bad that at this stage in our country, we are still talking about strike. When we should be talking about how to position the universities to meet or to solve the new challenges we have in our country. Last time I came here, I talk about, for example, look at the issue of terrorism. Universities should be at the forefront of providing solutions to this.
Right.
Okay? Even coming up with drugs or vaccines for COVID and all of that. Now, already we have a problem. We keep on establishing universities, and yet there is so much unemployment. Let me chip this in. When everybody was excited recently because Lagos State upgraded a polytechnic and a college of education, I said beyond the ego that people will now have that, okay, I have a degree, not a diploma. It's nothing. It's nothing. I was studying the German system of education. They have this dual system of vocational education where people from secondary school, a lot of them, a large percentage of students coming from secondary school go into that system. You know what they do? They go through apprenticeship. They stay 40% in the classroom and 60% at work. You understand? And then companies, even public sectors, they train them. And over about 51% of the skilled workforce of Germany comes from that system. Now, you have already solved the problem of unemployment. You understand? They still have the universities. But those products of that system are highly skilled. That's what you'll be talking about in Nigeria, not just adding universities to university and then still the same thing. You still get lecturers who will not be paid. Lecturers who will still complain about earn allowances. So
you have canvassing for vocational institutions, if I'll get it correctly.
That is the way to go. The polytechnics were established for a purpose. The purpose have been defeated. You understand? Purpose have been defeated. The polytechnics majority of them are just glorified secondary school. Universities are not faring better. So why not? Let's begin to talk about how to reposition. We should have gone past all of this. This is in fact, it's a distraction. It's a distraction. This impedes the progress of our country. It impedes the progress of our youth. Maybe it's because majority, not all of them, majority of public servants, those political office holders, they have their children abroad, trained abroad. Maybe some of them have them in private schools. So they don't care about these ones. Many of them will come out, they don't even have they don't have a future, no job. Many of them will carrying CVs up and down, sharing CVs. Many of them will still, you will be surprised, at the age of 30, some are still depending on their parents to feed them. So how do we get how do we solve these problems? Those are the things we should be talking about, not this one. It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate.
Indeed. Now, Tunde, Paul is talking about having a skilled workforce, more or less. If we have more vocational institutions, perhaps it would resolve some of these issues that we're having, that has been on for 13 years, people having to rely to go to the classrooms to be taught by lecturers. Do you go with this position, or you have a different?
Well, I think the basic problem is that we got it wrong in many areas. Number one, the kind of education system we have a lot of gaps in our education system. Not everybody is primed to be a university graduate. Exactly. Not everybody should be in the four walls of a university. And the essence of education is to take care of specific areas of need of a particular country. Right. Now, I could remember when I was in secondary school, I can tell you, a day in a week is devoted for us to visit a vocational center about 5 kilometers or 2 kilometers away from my secondary school. We go there in the morning and we leave there around 12 o'clock. So by 12 o'clock, we return to school to have 1 or 2 more classes. Now, when they designed the 6334 system of education, it was to address this educational gap that by the time people get to standard 3, from 3, you do a particular examination for them. You now determine those who are supposed to go for vocational education, who don't have the capacity to go further. Then those ones are programmed to go and study or to learn something. But by the time they spend 3 years there, they will have spent 6 years in school. And by the time they come out after that phase of 3 years, they already have a skill. And these people can be occupied to do many other things. Most of them can be successful. Success in life is not about having a university degree. Now, but we now see from 1986 upward, we started a system of gradually phasing out teacher training colleges. I am telling you, the bulk work of teachers that we have in Nigeria today, 90% of them went through the teacher training colleges. Those are the real teachers. After teacher training college, you go to NCE. They have virtually wrapped up NCE now. They are upgraded to degree awarding. It is about imparting knowledge, not about the degree you carry in your hand. But we have destroyed our education system. We destroyed the technical colleges. We destroyed the teacher training colleges. We destroyed the polytechnic. We destroyed the college. At the end of the day, everybody wants to carry a degree that has no meaning.
That is worthless.
So the thing is that we have never had a government that has a clear vision about what they want to make of education in Nigeria. They don't have a vision. If they have a vision, they will work towards that vision that Nigeria of today, we need to produce more of skilled manpower than people carrying academic certificates all over the place. So when we have a lot of skilled people, most of them can employ themselves. You can begin to, through SME loans, can begin to give them loans to start up on their own. I believe that Nigeria is still underemployed because we have not actually tapped our natural resources for the benefit of the society.
Let's quickly take this call we have from Birmingham, United Kingdom. Ede, please go ahead with your contribution.
Good evening. Good evening to all of you. Sorry, I don't know your names, and the lady anchoring. I just want to add to the discussion. I think it's very sad, unfortunately, that students are still going through this. I went through this at least in 1993 when we were on strike for a whole year. And it's sad that 30 years, over 30 years, it's still happening. But that, be that as it may be, I think as what was mentioned was earlier on, the people who are in government have their children abroad, so it doesn't pinch them. My prayer is that with this constitutional review they are doing, that we can get a sign-off on power, so people can actually be empowered. If the state can produce power, businesses can function, people can actually send their children to better institutions, and probably there can even be partnerships between companies and universities in order to privatize some of them, because the government is not doing a good job. I know Nigerians, once we are empowered, we will do what we need to do and we'll move the country forward. That's just my prayer, that electricity will be one of those things in this constitutional review that will get signed off. And then people can actually go on with their lives and forget about the leaders.
Thank you very much, Ade. We appreciate your contribution on the show. Paul, definitely you have a cue to take from what he just said so far, because I think he made some sense. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, it actually made lots of sense. The way to go, like we have said, we've been saying, is to actually drive vocational education. Interestingly, I watched an interview of a young lady, an undergraduate, who said, I'm very happy about the ASUU strike because I'm into photography and I don't have time. I don't have the time when I'm in school. It's like school is disturbing me. And I thought to myself, what is she doing in the university? She probably should have gone to maybe go to do a 2-year diploma program in photography, and then probably she will fly. So please, this university is overrated, especially in a country where university graduates don't have much to show for it. Even in this our profession, I've seen so many people come to the newsroom for IT from the universities, even from private university, and then you wonder, did you learn anything at all? They don't even understand 5 W's and H. There was one that came on that said, this girl has no business being a journalist. You understand? And that's somebody studying mass communication.
Most of them study in the university just to have a degree. It's not even for a meal ticket, because if it is for a meal ticket, you'll be diligent and studious about it. But they just attended the higher institution to have that certificate and carry it all over.
Okay, let me hold your thoughts. Let's quickly take this call from Ibadan. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yes. Good evening, Olakemi Adeyema. Am I correct?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. Uncle Dada and Mr. Abaton. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes. You see, I want to believe something that education is not the process to life. But now, education is life itself. Now, in this current dispensation, if they are giving us these things for education, honestly, we don't have a future. And even the attitude of the Honorable Minister, Malamadamu, honestly, is not encouraging. But what is so important is Mr. President and his antlers should wake up and see that better priority is being given to education so that the future of this country will be guaranteed. Because a good country that lacks people that are not educated, the country will end up even being in woes and trouble. So I will appreciate it if Mr. President and his antlers will wake up and do the needful. People handling education aspect for him, they are not doing anything good at all. But we need a better improvement on our educational sector and more attention, or else we are sitting on the keg of a gunpowder. And I pray.
All right, thank you very much for your contribution. We appreciate your thoughts so far. So, Tunde, before we wrap up this segment of this discussion, our initial caller talked about constitution review. Perhaps this should be incorporated when we're talking about the education sector. Do you go with that submission, or is there any other thing you need to add so that we can have this situation, put behind us?
Well, I think education in Nigeria it's on the concurrent list. It's not in the exclusive list. I think what we need to do is let the constitution be done in such a way that each of the 36 states in Nigeria will design a program that fits its own nation, its own needs. Manpower needs of each of the states of Nigeria, because the manpower needs of Lagos State, probably Rivers State and Kano State, they may be different from each other. So each of the states of the country should devise an education system that will fit its own need, so that we can begin to move forward. But until we do this thing, but overall, put many laws in the constitution. If you don't have sincere leaders who appreciate the essence of education. Right. Because most of these leaders, they just send their children abroad. But what I keep on telling people is that, what is the essence when you are so comfortable? You have all the money you can have. You send your children to Harvard, to all these institutions, but they cannot even come home because they are not comfortable within the system. All those people around you, they are poor people. They are uneducated people. You can imagine for you to get a tailor or electrician, you may have to go to Ghana or to go to Togo, all these things. So I think we need people that understand what is education in our hem of affairs in Nigeria. It's not about making legislation alone. It is about getting the right people leaders. Leaders to be in government. Nigeria has everything minus leadership. I can tell you that. We have everything. We have everything. But
Paul, final thoughts on this issue?
Nigeria has everything minus leadership. Let me also add that we also do not have very, very serious following, because we don't elect people based on issues. And a lot of people who have ideas, they're educated, they're enlightened, many of them even stay away, from the process. They let some of these thugs and all of that, and take charge. So we must begin to look for the right kind of leaders. Because it's been the same story. As far as I'm concerned, I don't see any difference between PDP and APC. There's no difference. There's no difference. It's just two different faces of a coin.
This is the difference between six and half a dozen.
It's just that if you have read Animal Farm, it was man of, they came back, that came back to square one. You understand? That's what it is. They came around, they promised, this party promised us, the ruling party promised us change. We are even worse.
Quality, actually.
Exactly. We are even worse than we were
before. Well, let's hope everything turns out for the better and our students get back to the classrooms.